Why is judo not marketed better? That's one of the things that I talk about on today's episode. Hey, I'm Coach Stanley. I'm a knee dan in judo. This is year 25 for me. I was also a teacher in the school system for 16 years, as well as a wrestling coach. I currently teach judo in Indian Trail, North Carolina at 4M Fitness. And next month, January 2026, I'm opening my own dojo here in my own front yard, which is what you see behind me. I'm filming in the dojo today, which is awesome. What a great opportunity and a big leap of faith that me and my family are taking. One of my main purposes as far as this channel, how I teach, when I'm involved in martial arts, I want to spread the word of judo especially, but also grappling, because I think that it is something that everybody should be involved with, whether it is a little kid or a 60-year-old man. People need to try martial arts, especially the grappling versions, judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I want to get more people into it. I want to expand the word of grappling. I want more people to know about it. And also, I want to take away some of the misconceptions that people have about judo. That's kind of what I do, and that's my mission. On today's episode, I was the guest on DadBod Judo podcast. What an awesome opportunity that was. On that episode, we talk about how judo needs to get away from the race to the bottom, the cheapest, the give it away for free mindset, and move into more of a modern approach. Let's run judo schools more like a business. We spend a lot of time in judo. We invest money. We invest a lot in judo. The individuals out there that are teaching judo have put so much into this. They spend countless hours inside and outside of the dojo. They spend time at tournaments. Some of us, like myself, spent a lot of time competing when we were younger, driving all over the United States, learning, going to seminars, and we've put in the time. And I know from both personal experience and a lot of people that I have met through the judo community is the knowledge is there, and what we're teaching is important. So we should be able to be compensated for it a little bit. Now, obviously, we're not going to become millionaires, but in order to just make a nice, comfortable living, I think that that's the way judo needs to go in order to expand and grow. We also talk about how judo is losing its visibility on social media. Judo was never one to be broadcasted and showed all over network television. We don't have a ton of videos on the internet. And we need to start having a different approach with the marketing perspective. We need to get more people into judo. We need to get more eyes on judo. And we need to take some good, high quality, high production value video and get it out there. There needs to be some strong personalities in judo. There are a couple, but again, there's only a few. So we need to continue to just pump it up, and we need to get it out there more. Get people into it. Market judo. If you're into judo, help me market. And the last thing we talk about on the podcast was there's so many people that talk about the limitations of judo, what's going wrong with it, what can it do, why is it hard to open a club, why is it hard to compete, why is it this, why is it that. I want to start focusing on the good aspects of judo. What can it do for both me and anybody involved in judo, right? We have to switch that mindset. So I hope you enjoy this interview I had on DadBod Judo. So thank you, David, so much for having me out. It was a great conversation, and I look forward to continue to have these connections with David, and I'm actually going to have him on my podcast as well. So thank you all. Enjoy. It can work, and it does work. It's just like you have to be kind of creative, and we got to start focusing on what judo can do instead of the limitations of what judo cannot do.
All right, guys, Dave Lowshelter here, DadBod Judo podcast. We're back on the podcast. I have a great guest. His name's Cole Stanley. Welcome, Cole.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Dave. Really appreciate that.
Anytime, man. Hey, let me tell the guest here, the audience, a little bit about you real quick. Cole Stanley is a second-degree black belt in judo, former public school teacher and wrestling coach, podcast host, and the owner of the traveling martial arts business. He also runs the YouTube channels Student First Martial Arts and Well-Rounded Grappler podcast, where he shares practical lessons from the mat with athletes and coaches around the world. Judo has played a huge role in shaping how he coaches, teaches, and connects with people. Whether he's on the mat or behind the mic, Cole loves to help build stronger athletes, leaders, and communities. Welcome to the podcast, Cole. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Maybe it should be instead of does attempting to do those stuff. Yeah, I really appreciate it, Dave. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you know
And
what, man? I checked out your channels. I like what you're putting out there. It's really good and it's wholesome and a lot of good stuff. I know you kind of linked up with Colton Brown and Shintaro and those guys. I know those guys a little bit. I've spoken to those guys a few times. Actually, was trying to get something together. Wanted to do a judo cruise. I was putting together with one of my business partners a couple years ago.
oh,
It didn't go through, but I was trying to get those guys to be the instructors. So too
wow.
bad it didn't go through, but I got to know them through talking to them and having Colton on the podcast as well. So it's great to have that small community of judo people kind of linking together and talking.
Yeah, of course. And the reason that I originally reached out to you is because I listened to the Paul Jordan interview originally. And I really think that it's pointed out some great stuff as far as if people are interested in opening up a judo club and actually running it like a business, like I think that the direction needs to go, honestly. And I had just recently listened to it a second time, just about a week or two ago. So, that kind of got me interested because, and again, this could like go into a whole another tangent. It's if I go on to something like a YouTube or a search Spotify or whatever it is and search, what does it take to open up a judo club? There is a very, very, very small amount of stuff out there, barely any, honestly. But if I type in either martial arts in general or jiu-jitsu, man, I mean, it's like thousands of videos, all high quality, all from people that own multiple facilities and just what, well, obviously I still listen to those and watch those as well. It's not judo specific, so it's like the finding the one with Paul on there was a diamond in the rough, and man, it's a good one. So anybody that's listening to mine, check out the Paul Jordan episode on your podcast as well.
Yeah, yeah, I've known Paul since I was a kid. We have known
Oh
him for
wow.
a long, long time. Yeah, he's a great guy, and I actually was able. I took my kid up to his camp. He runs a camp every summer, and he invited me over to his house, and we had pizza. Just kind of talked a little bit. He actually showed me some of his processes, and it was fascinating. I recommended him to a couple people that want to start a business. I was like, look, call Paul. I said, get him as a consultant if he wants to. If he's willing, pay him. See, he can teach you. But
Yeah.
he has some business coaches help him, and he's very successful. And he runs it like a business, and he does a really good job. He's a great person. He's a great instructor. He's just an all around, high quality guy. But he's learned a lot, and he's implemented it. And you're right, he has some things in there that people aren't doing that's making him very successful. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's I was happy to kind of get him on talk with him because I've always respected him immensely. So great guy.
You didn't mention much about your club or where you teach. So you know, tell me a little bit about where you teach in it, if it's your club and things like that, because you talk to a lot of other people, but I mean, I personally want to hear about your club as well.
I go to Kim's Martial Arts in Pittsburgh, And it's been a club that's been open for, oh boy, it's a family-owned business for about 60 years. And the grandfather came over, Kyu-Hall Kim came over from Korea. He was a national champion over there, a highly decorated judo player, and came over, started his business in Pittsburgh. He's been around since the 60s. And his son started his business in Cranberry. Kyu-Hall Kim died, and then his grandsons took over the club in the Pittsburgh area. And so they've been running it forever. I grew up actually a club down the street called South Hills Judo Club, and that's still around. Has several owners since. I started there when I was 9 years old, so like a million years ago, and grew up there. So that's most of my career was at that club. I started my own club in 2010, was it? Yeah, I think it was that. And then I started having kids, and then I had to close down the clubs, and then just kind of just work and life got in the way, and then said, you know what, I just want to go back and train. And it was
Yeah.
really stressful because, running a clubs, because you have the marketing and everything else. And if you're not doing it full time, it's really hard. Like I had,
Yeah.
I was at a job, I was teaching at the university, I was doing a lot of different stuff. So I was really, really busy and I couldn't do everything. So, with family and jobs and everything else, something had to give.
Is it just a judo club?
No, it has Taekwondo.
Okay. Yeah.
That school was based off of Taekwondo and Judo for the last 60 years. So it's pretty amazing, and it's very well run, and it's
Yeah.
it's a great culture.
Well, unfortunately, and again, like, the the same topics keep getting brought up in the community, and I'm happy that they are because they need to get addressed. And even when, I talk to Shintaro or Colta, these hard questions need to be asked, like how can we keep judo alive and how can we keep it to grow, and it's like, just like in your situation, like you were running the club and still having a full-time job and stuff like that. And that's how most of the, judo clubs are run in the United States. And, it's becoming harder and harder to run stuff like that, when it's almost like costing you money to run the club. It's like
Yeah.
people aren't making money off of it. You have people that are volunteering their time. And while, teaching judo is awesome and it's good that we are spreading the word and more people are doing judo, but it's starting to fade away because, the whole idea and the mentality of Americans are different than they were 60 years ago. You're talking about people that are running clubs like it's like the Great Depression or something, to where they don't think people have any money to contribute at all and it should all be free. And it's like it can't be run like that anymore. It's like you have to start giving the instructors just at least to keep them in the green, and it's like it's like when I was looking around for places to rent, it's like, yeah, I didn't want to get locked into some crazy, contract that's $2,000 a month or whatever. And it's like, to where I got to pay the utilities. If anything breaks, like the majority of it falls on, the renter. And I mean, dip into my life savings or whatever to buy mats. And I'm just like, I don't want to go down that road, man. And, unfortunately, like I said, like just judo alone, it's hard to, run a business, but it's not impossible, and like Paul was a great example of how it can be possible, and more people are starting to think that way. And the younger people that are coming up that are starting judo clubs, like Colton, or I had Skylar Cummings on my podcast, they're running judo clubs as a business, and that's all that they do, and they're both doing well. Like I went up to Colton's, man, and he had, my gosh, like there was like there was like 60 people on the mat, it's like, it's insane. I mean,
And
obviously his accolades are different, but I mean, he's spending money on marketing. He's getting people in. I mean, he's doing a really good job. So, it's like we need to start taking examples of these people, because I just don't think that, like, the cheaper the better, the volunteer mindset is gonna last, with the way that society is changing,
no, and the jiu-jitsu guys are charging, good money for that. I mean, it's not cheap to do jiu-jitsu in a lot of places either. You got to spend some money. So if you're spending money on jiu-jitsu, then why not judo? I'm also finding that if you're going to start a judo club, it's a pretty good idea to have jiu-jitsu in there somewhere, just because of the marketing, just because of people know what it is. It's so closely tied to MMA. And you're getting these guys that are, between, 30 years old and 45 years old who, want to practice and want to, and guess who has the money? 30-year-old to
right,
50-year-old people, not the
right.
20-year-old. They have jobs. They can pay, a significant amount of money per month to be a part of something that's, makes them feel, good and healthy and tough, and builds their self-esteem and self-efficacy and all the other stuff that goes along with that. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I want to backtrack. I mean, by all means, like, I'm not talking bad about the judo community. I love the judo community, and I mean, I was a teacher and a wrestling coach, and I mean, the wrestling coach was making $1,500 a season. It's like, so
Mhm.
I'm making pennies, so it's like, it's awesome for the people that do go out there and want to spread, the sport for the love of it, or the art for the love of it. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I encourage people to do anything when it comes to judo. So whether it's nonprofit or not, I'm just saying that, like, and again, like, it goes into this realm too of, like, if it's a nonprofit and you have to pay to keep the lights on, that means you don't have money for marketing, or I mean, you're dipping even farther into the red to market, and it's like, I would say that however many clubs there are here in North Carolina, we'll just say it's like 30. I mean, 40, which is crazy, right? Like, in the whole state, there's not many.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not seeing ads about them. I'm finding these random Facebook pages that are not kept up, or there's a list called
Do you want free internet? Forever? You got it. We're offering free fiber-powered internet when you
it's called like the North Carolina Judo list or whatever, and it's like, like it's like an old website, but it's like, it has all the judo clubs on there, but some of them aren't even around anymore. It's like the phone's disconnected, the email comes back as not even a valid email anymore. So it's like, people aren't finding out about this stuff, but, like, man, I see stuff about jiu-jitsu clubs all the time, in the area in Charlotte, like, come to this seminar, come to this, we're open. Look at this brand new facility, look
Yeah.
at this, I hired a professional photographer to take film of this. And,
Mhm.
like, we're taking high quality videos and paying people to do this and paying for marketing and stuff. So it's like, that's the other thing that's like, it's just hurting judo. It's like, you can't really put an ad in the paper anymore. You have to, like, spend money on some of this, like, higher quality, like, filmmaking and audio quality, in order to get people interested. Because when you see an old dingy video that's terribly done about judo, and you see this extraordinary video done in high quality for jiu-jitsu, where it's like, you pay people to do it. It's like, and I'm the person that doesn't know anything about martial arts. Like, what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose a jiu-jitsu one, because of just, it looks better. It looks clean. It's like, I don't know, man. It's I want to go judo, and, like, I want it to get as big as it once was. Like, I want it to take back over. We're in this bubble right now too, about jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu is big. Jiu-jitsu is huge. It's, it's kind of crazy because I look up statistics, and karate and taekwondo are still bigger statistically, which is weird because it doesn't seem like it to me, but maybe it is. But jiu-jitsu is definitely bigger than judo. And when this bubble gets so big and there's one in every corner, that bubble's going to burst eventually. So it's like, I'm not sure what's going to happen with jiu-jitsu. If it's going to continue to be the biggest martial art in the United States for the next 30 years, or if it's going to fade off like some of the other stuff, like, judo was in the 1950s and 60s, the largest martial art in the United States, and it's like, how do we get back to that, and I just think stuff like, sticking with the times. I think that the majority of judo clubs aren't sticking with the times, just like the aspects I was talking about, like marketing and applying to the right audience and getting the name out there, and just getting seen by people, and it's just not happening right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like I watch these TikTok videos or these YouTube shorts or whatever, and they're like these funny videos of these guys doing some really cute things about jujitsu, you know. So the other day I saw something come in. It's like the guy was a black belt in jujitsu, and he walks into this jujitsu club, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a black belt in jujitsu. Can I work out here for free?" And the lady at the reception area is like, "Well, let me check with John." And it was just kind of
Yeah.
like funny, It was like, oh, it's just like the way it
Yeah.
played out was like, he was entitled because he was a black belt, and it was like a total joke, and it was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cute and funny and memorable. And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, boy, that would be kind of cool to like find, like you don't see that in judo players. Like there's no judo videos out there that are like cute and funny and have like this ridiculous type of things that like that would catch someone's eye and make them smile and say, boy,
Right.
that's really cool. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that's the other part of it
Right.
too, where to your point of like, video, it's not just a video, it's also the creativity and the amount of information and content is just unbelievable. Because everybody got a
Mhm.
camera and everybody's
Yeah.
making cool videos and they can make them within 5 minutes, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I don't see the judo community actually making fun of themselves. And I think, and I don't know what people think about that, but it's like, okay, you got it. Like my buddy said, the thing that really works the best on video is funny videos, making fun of other people. And what I also don't
Mhm.
see is judo people trashing judo people. Okay. Now that's negative, and that's not really the way we do things. But let's face it, negativity sells. I'm not saying be negative. I'm not saying, make videos and like, I get online and I trash Cole Stanley for his judo and maybe, what I mean, and cause some ruckus or
Yeah.
whatever. But what I also don't see is like, which I wish I could see more of, is like reaction videos to
Mhm.
certain things. Like you see a lot of that with the bodybuilding. There's a lot of guys out there that do reaction videos, or even with no matter what genre, there's always a reaction video for music, politics, sports, and judo doesn't have any reaction videos. It's not like me being, grabbing one of your videos and saying, let's say for instance, I would grab your video and go over the one you did with Colton Brown. He was teaching you the one-handed Hayatoshi. Um,
Mhm.
for me to get online and get your video and then me kind of like make comments about it. And I'm not saying be negative, but just to make a comment about your video with Colton Brown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and
I
have
do.
an opinion of of that video. And then vice versa, grab one of my videos and say, "Oh, Dave Low Shelter, he did a video on Tayatoshi. I don't agree with that, but that makes sense." And kind of like,
Right.
build that way too. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking that's kind of one of the goals I think we should have is like, grab Shintaro's video and make a video about that and say, hey, that's pretty cool. I like that idea. I do it this way and or whatever. And I think building the community together
Mhm.
that way, and having these major influencers, like kind of like really connect that way would be, I think, a better a better way to do it, just like some of the other channels are doing as well. I know. What do you think about that? Because that's something I was thinking about.
Well, it goes back to what I said about sticking with the times, man. Like
Mhm.
that stuff that you're mentioning is the times. It's the short form videos. It's just getting an eye on social media, and you know the fact that both of us can only mention just a handful of kind of the heads of judo as far as like marketing it and getting out there. You got Shintaro, you got Colton. The only person we haven't mentioned, or maybe the people that we didn't mention together, are like the Travis Stevens, Jimmy Pedro kind of thing.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, yes, like when Ronda Rousey was in the UFC and now Kayla Harrison's in the UFC, they'll talk about, judo definitely, made me into the person that I am, but like that's really all that they do. Like, I think, if I were Kayla or Ronda, man, I would be pushing judo like, like as much as possible, because there aren't like these figureheads out there in social media. It's like Shintaro was talking about how he'll be out at the grocery store, and someone's like, "Hey, I've seen one of your videos," or Justin Flores will say the same thing, man. But like, that's only just a couple people, man. It's like we got to get like some bigger figureheads out there, and people that are present on social media and stuff. Um, because like I don't know how it is in like Pennsylvania, but like I'll be going around to judo clubs, because I go and I visit judo clubs, and sometimes I train as a student. Sometimes I do like a teacher exchange to where I go and teach, and then they come and teach at my club or whatever. Or sometimes I'll start practicing, and they'll say, "Hey, I really like that Taio. Can you show it?" I'm one of the youngest judo instructors that I know, and it's like, and I'm 43, dude, and it's like
Mhm.
we need to get like more younger people involved in this, right? Like that teenage to mid 20s kind of age group, the ones that do like to make social media. Because I mean, let's just face it, like people in their 50s and 60s are not making social media like a 20-year-old. They just don't do it because they aren't as skilled at it. And like you're a diamond in the rough by making this podcast, you know what I mean? And it's like, again, it's like we just got to stick with the times, man. We got to get like more teenagers and 20-year-olds involved, because a lot of people that I talk to say that they'll get people as kids into the judo program and they'll do well and they'll like it, and then whenever they become teenagers they kind of fall out of the sport a lot of the times, and so then they do other stuff. So it's like, like there's a regional training center for judo in Charlotte, man, and like a lot of people didn't even know about it. Like, how I found out about it? I was searching up something completely different online, and I ran across an article on USA Judo, and it says like Robert Erickson hired as the new regional training center in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that was it, like one paragraph on USA Judo. It's like, whoa, like when the heck did that happen? It's like, why was I not seeing stuff all over, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube about this? Like again, like influencers talk about this, like, oh my gosh, this is whoever, this is Justin Flores. Can you believe that they just opened up a regional training center in Charlotte? Kind of thing. It's like I found out just by chance, dude. And then like I talked with some people in the judo community in North Carolina, and they had no clue that it existed either. So it's
That's
like,
crazy.
man, like I know.
That's crazy.
And they had last year, well, Robert ended up moving on. I don't know if you've kept up with that or not, but Israel Hernandez is in there now. But I think that's his name, right? The Cuban, Israel Hernandez. Is that?
I think it's, yeah, I think it's him.
Yeah, Hernandez. but they had a national training camp at UNC Charlotte, and I went to it. Trust me, just just to like practice, not anything like I was going to compete, but to learn. I went there to learn, and Hannah Martin was there, Roddy Ferguson was there, Colton Brown was there, Israel Hernandez was there, Angela Delgado was there, like all these people that are super famous in the judo community, right? And where the heck are all the judo clubs, like the local judo clubs, which I've been to them all and I know who's there? Why are they not here, dude? Like, why are they not here? So it's like, I don't know. I don't want to like complain or rant and rave, but man, like I'm so passionate about, growing the judo community and stuff. And it's hard to do alone if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think it takes,
Village,
it's a multi-level approach. I think it's multifaceted. There's different
of
things. I know
course.
that Shintaro made a video about this, and he said a lot of interesting things that I agreed with.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's more and I think there's more that he could have said too. And I know that I think he even alluded to that, but yeah, he only covered a few. But what I found really interesting was just like mat space. Like it takes in terms of getting people in, like jiu-jitsu guys, you can load in, 30 people on a
Yeah.
mat, they can roll. But you can't load in 30 people, judo people in
No.
the same space. Like there's too much
Right.
movement. Like it's too dangerous. You got to structure it
Sure.
differently, and
Yeah,
you're going to
you
have,
do. Yep.
it's not going to be the same practice for sure. So like things like that, just the economy of space and everything that I found like, oh, I didn't really think about that, but that's true. Like if you want to pack in and run a business, you want as many people as possible. Well, if you have a ballroom that only can hold, 100 people, and then you're inviting, 500 people, that's a problem. So it's the same thing, right? So I think
Yeah.
I think that's one out of many, but then we've been kind of focusing on the marketing and getting people, aware of like what is it. But then the question is like, what's the value of it? I mean, the BJJ stuff is attached to the UFC, and obviously that's the most popular sport, combat sport in the world, obviously. So like if it's connected, which they did a great job with that and that took many years. Like that took many years. So like, what do you connect judo with that is as
Hmm.
popular? And to your point with like Ronda Rousey and Kayla Harrison, it's like, yeah, they should be talking judo. Like they need to connect, but what, two people is going to connect judo to the UFC? Like that's ain't going to happen. Like that's just not, it's not going to happen. And so, like, how many more people do you need? Like, there's a critical mass. That's the other piece. And then there's probably like 10 other things that we can do. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's really, and it's frustrating because it is such a great sport. And when you get someone in who's like, 35 years old, who's out of shape, you got to treat them really, really carefully to keep
Yeah,
them.
you do.
One wrong fall, one twist of the knee, and they ain't coming back.
Right.
It
Right.
just
Yeah.
and it's a high
Sure.
impact sport, you know, and that's why they're not doing high impact aerobics either. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like because their knees and hips hurt or back or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Right.
yeah, it's challenging, but I think it's doable.
But also we need to start focusing as a whole on what judo can do and what judo can offer, right? And because even like I talk with Shintaro, right? And he's like, oh my gosh, judo's, even he's saying judo is dangerous, if it's taught the wrong way and stuff like that. But like, it goes into the approach. It goes into learning the correct way to teach. It goes into following things that will make it safer, like going back to what you were saying, and that's the argument that a lot of people talk about too, is you do need a lot of mat space, and yes you do, but also if we focus on maximizing our space instead and doing things to where we can have a lot of people on the mat, in a safe way, then, that again, like, we have to focus on the positive stuff. It's like I've coached wrestling in such tiny areas, man. Like wrestling. Oh my gosh. Like, I mean, you're talking like I've been in wrestling rooms that have like half a mat and it's packed with people. And it's like, or I've taught PE class to where we've had 100 kids in the gym, man, and you just got to be creative with your space, man. You got to figure out ways that you either have a rotating system to where you have a certain people amount, on the mat just for a small amount of time, and then rotating new people in, or stations to where you can have a lot more people doing this drill over here, but a little bit less people over here, and having people help you with mat awareness and watching people. I mean, it definitely can work. I mean, it can work, and it does work. It's just like you have to be kind of creative, and we got to start focusing on what judo can do instead of the limitations of what judo cannot do. And I talked to what the heck was the point that I was going to make? What the heck was I going to say? Oh, I talk about this all the time too, that I'm teaching judo the art, and we cover things that are not in the current rule set, like I'll show leg attacks. We'll do gripping, and I won't even talk about how you can only hold it for 5 seconds. I feel that, like, I don't want grappling or judo to be limited by rule sets. Like, I want to obviously be safe, like the scissor takedown or just whatever, like, obviously, like, dangerous stuff don't do, but like, I barely talk about, like, you can only have a two-on-one grip for 5 seconds, or, well, you got that grip, you got to go, oh, stop what you're doing, you just got a penalty, and it's like, or you can't grab the leg, you get disqualified. It's like, I don't want to be like limited by these rules. And I also don't want people to not pursue judo, or not teach judo, or not open a club, or not want to expand because we're in like a limited mindset. Not that I'm like disagreeing with you or anything. It's just I just think as a whole that we got to start thinking a little bit more positively about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the holistic approach to it, like the limitations, that's where you get the competitiveness comes into it, and you start to. That's a small portion of judo, and if we're
Yeah.
gonna do it as a physical education, and keep it safe, keep it fun, keep it interesting, let people get in shape, and have fun with it. All that stuff is really the point of it. Yeah, if you want to compete and go somewhere and you want to start that's fine. Then learn the rules. Train the rules, learn the
Right.
rules. That's fine. That's okay. And that's only going to be maybe 5% of the people you're teaching, if that. The
Yep.
rest, the
Sure.
95%, are just there to socialize and have fun. And if you run it, like an Olympic training center, they're going to leave. That's you're not going to have a business. So yeah, I think I 100% agree with you. I think the positivity of it, and the marketing, having fun with it, and getting the word out that this is a great sport, for anybody, as long as
Yep.
it's taught for everybody in a way.
Yeah.
And everybody
Right.
is a
Yeah.
stepping
Yeah.
person, and you got to be careful
Sure.
who you're dealing with. And kids are different than teenagers. Teenagers are different than adults. And as long as you understand that, then that's great. Well,
Yeah.
hey, man,
Right.
it was great having you on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, David.
You definitely have to get back together on another podcast for sure, and keep talking about this. I think getting the word out's going to be the key right here. So, thanks
Yeah.
for coming on, man, and we
Of
will
course.
certainly talk to you soon.
Yeah. I'll be in touch, and we'll figure out a good date that you could come on to mine, and we can continue on, and get to hear a little bit more from you. I felt like I talked a lot.
That's why you're here. All right, guys.
All
If you
right.
haven't subscribe, click that notification bell, comment below, and we will talk to Cole in the next probably month or so.
What an awesome podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you want to check out some more material, I have 2 videos up. One is my latest episode on Well-Rounded Grappler, my own podcast. And the other is when I was a guest on Booze and BJJ. So definitely check one of those out. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks.